It's a great day in Kershaw County.
You got it.
Yes, we've got it. It's a great day in Kershaw County and this all-America county. We're now at a quorum with Mr. Bozard calling in remotely. We have a total of all 7 of us present, so we're called to order. With that, I'd ask you to stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Thank you. Let's bow our heads. As it says in the good book, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And indeed, we acknowledge our total dependence on you, Lord, in this terrible crisis. But we have every confidence, as is promised in the good book, that those that have faith in you shall see success in this world and the next. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance for this body, that we may deliberate in matters that all comes to your honor and glory. This we ask in the name of our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And with that, we move to the first and only item on the agenda. First of all, we'll adopt the agenda. Can I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Mr. Gardner, a second.
Second
For Mr. Connell, any discussion? By way of discussion, I'll lead off to say that we as a county have agreed over the past to deal with the issue that's shown here as new business, and that before we move forward, we would first take a sensitive briefing on a contractual matter from the administrator before we would take any further action. And so that's why we're here today in a special call meeting. There'll be much more on that later. With that, I think we're ready to move to a vote unless there is any other discussion. Seeing there is none, move to a vote. All those in favor signify. And let me ask Mr. Bozard. Mr. Bozard, do you agree to this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Mr. Bozard agrees, and Mary, it's unanimous. If you'll go back on mute, Al, we'll be good. Thank you. The first item on the agenda, and the only item, is new business, appeal to the DHEC ruling on Kershaw Health. There are 2 enclosures at tab A. I have hard copies here for you for those that didn't bring the tablets. One is a letter from Mr. Darrell Ogburn, and the second is a response that I wrote, that I signed as unanimously agreed by the county council, all members here voting in response. And with that, I'd like to entertain a motion that we go into executive session, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for a contractual matter.
And taking Mr. Morgan, Mr. DuBose, and Mr.
Yes,
Carpenter.
sir. Yes, sir. With those that you just stated.
Very good. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Connell. Discussion. We'll go into executive session. We'll come out, and we'll likely entertain a vote, and that is the intent, is that we would have a vote when we come out. Hopefully, it should be a short session, but we'll take as long as necessary that all questions be answered on a contractual matter. So with that, let me first ask Mr. Bozard, you agree on the executive session, please. Mr. Bozard? Al, are you there?
Went down the hill.
Went down a hill.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, do you agree that we go into executive session?
Yes, sir. I agree.
All right, thank you, sir. And go on mute, and I'll call you back. And all those present, please signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, Mary, and we'll go into executive session. Thank you. Al, if you go on mute. Sir, Mr. Tucker, with a motion to come out of executive session. A second, please.
Second.
Mr. Gardner, discussion? Very good. We'll move to a vote. Al, can you vote to come out of executive session? Okay, he's a yes, and all others signify by raising your hand. And it's unanimous, and we're out of executive session. We return to our agenda, which is new business up on the screen. Appeal to DHEC ruling on Kershaw Health. It has two attachments at tab A. One, a letter from Mr. Ogburn, the Kershaw Health Services District, and secondly, our affirmative reply in principle, signed by myself as agreed by County Council. With that, we turn to Mr. Tucker for a motion, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the appeal to DHEC ruling on Kershaw Health.
Very good. Can we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gardner. Discussion. I would ask, first of all, I ask Mr. DeBose and Mr. Carpenter to bring us up on any salient points in the executive session, and then we'll go from there. Mr. DeBose, would you lead off?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The request is that Kershaw County appeal the DHEC ruling that upheld the COPA, which they had previously issued, by filing a notice for contested hearing in the administrative law court. That merely is a request by Kershaw County that DHEC follow its statutory process. The statutory process would allow Kershaw County and citizens of Kershaw County through Kershaw County Council and individually to express their views before DHEC as to the proposed sale of the Life Point facilities, which include Kershaw Health, to Prisma.
Very good. And if the council agrees, as Mr. Tucker has suggested, can you define the process and the timing so that the people of Kershaw County and the media can know when they can access the nature of this appeal?
The appeal will be filed no later than Thursday, so more than likely tomorrow. When it is filed tomorrow, it will be a public document. The document is being prepared, but it basically asks the administrative law court in a contested hearing to require DHEC to follow its statutory process. Statutory process being that it allow public hearings and public comments as to the benefit of the proposed sale by the Life Point facilities, which include Kershaw Health, to Prisma.
Thank you very much. Mr. Carpenter, I believe that's comprehensive. Do you have anything further?
Yes, no, sir.
Yeah, let it be recorded that Mr. DeBose said that without taking a single breath. All right, with that, let's go to discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Jones, go right ahead.
Thank you so much. I have some issues with this, and I think I stated them at the last meeting, and this, with Prisma coming in here, there's no question it's going to provide excellent health care, especially with orthopedics, neuro, other things that we don't have now. And if we're not careful, I know for a fact that the employees at the hospital hadn't gotten a raise in a few years. Well, they will with this merger coming through. It's going to be a better life for the folks that work at the hospital. It's going to be a better life for the citizens of Kershaw County because of the health care they're going to provide. And I know that we've all asked the question, well, would this possibly cause Prisma to change their mind? Yes, it would. There's no question in my mind that it could absolutely stop the entire process. And then where do we go from there? I've seen Kershaw Health almost become a Band-Aid facility again in the past, and I don't want to take any chances on that happening. And having said that, I know that the appeal is going to go through. I know that the council is going to probably send this on through, but it's going to do it without my support.
Thank you, sir. The comments? Let me see if Mr. Bozar does, and then I'll hit everybody else. Al, you have any comments?
No, not at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Go back on mute. Mr. Gardner raised his hand. Go ahead.
Excuse me, a couple of comments first, that just for the record, that Lexington and Fairfield have or will be filing appeals of this as well. But I just asked Mr. Jones, he must have more information if Prisma's going to add programs and give raises, because I don't haven't seen anything that would verify that, so apparently he has more information than I do, because we don't have any information on it. That's why we're here. So that's just my comment.
Very good. Mr. Tucker, you raised your hand, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to say that I hope that my colleagues up here support this and allow us to move forward, and hopefully that Prisma and Life Point will reach a decision that we all need to sit down and try to do what's best for our citizens in going over this COPA and getting it right. So therefore, in the years to come, we'll have a good hospital here in Kershaw County.
Mr. Snodgrass.
Sure. Just a couple questions for our legal staff, which I think kind of help frame the conversation. You know, it's quick to use jargon, and those who are maybe reporting or listening don't quite understand. But so the COPA, Certificate of Public Advantages, that's correct?
That is correct.
So it's very common for when hospitals come together, when there's mergers, that they go through DHEC, correct? And
That's what DHEC has to, for medical facilities to merge or be bought, they have to have a certificate of public advantage, issue it. Yes, that's correct.
And a part of that is, and part of issuing that is there's public hearings in which the public is able to give input, as well as governing bodies can kind of give input on
And comment, yes.
and comment, so that we can have a clear picture of how this is going to work to our advantage here in our local
That is
community.
correct.
And so just a little history. So where this deal went down under a COPA that's over 20 years old.
Don't think it's 20 years
15.
old, but it's old.
It's old.
It involves the original combination of Baptist Hospital and what was in the Richland Hospital into Palmetto Richland.
And even in the amended COPA that was submitted to DHEC, thank you.
It's 23.
23, okay. That's why I'm a pastor. I'm not a mathematician. I couldn't count, so I had to preach. But even in the, only I'm good at, even in the amended COPA, there was no language about Kershaw County in that.
No. As you articulated, this COPA is very old and goes all the way back to Richland Memorial and Baptist Hospital.
Okay, which is part of my, it's part of my concern, because first of all, I think both of my children were born in then a Palmetto Health Hospital, which is now Prisma. So I've ministered to folks under the Palmetto Health, now Prisma banner, and I've always been impressed with their services and always thought that there was a top-notch facility. So this is, this whole process, I've wanted to give them the shadow of a doubt. But I think it helps us to understand the argument better when we realize that in order for these deals to go through, there has to be an approval process through DHEC, and a part of that is the Certificate of Public Advantage. And that allows the public to have input on how this buyout is going to impact us, whether that be negatively or positively. And that hasn't happened. And so I think if I were to vote to move on with the appeal, I guess I want to be clear that this has nothing to do with the level of quality that I think Prisma will give or not give us. I think there is a procedural and administrative issue that we got to make sure we take a look at, and that we are operating under an old piece of document. So that may have been known, that may have been unknown, but at least for me, I wanted everyone to understand kind of how I am analyzing this whole thing.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further comments? Mr. Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I believe I'm going to support this appeal, and I'd like to just state on the record why. For me, this is a rule of law issue. I think Prisma would be a great health partner in Kershaw County. I think they'd provide wonderful service, but I think the rule of law has to be complied with. And our counsel, that is legal counsel, have informed us that DHEC has violated some statutes and regulations. For me, this issue on rule of law is about openness in government. So You have to include the public in these types of processes according to statutes and regulations. The Kershaw County Council is one of those mechanisms for including the public in this type of agreement. And I would much more prefer that it be done the right way than done, well, more than anything else. I just prefer that it be done the right way. I believe in the rule of law, and I think we should follow the statutes and regulations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Further comments? I'll close. Yeah,
Yes,
Jones,
if I
go
could,
right ahead.
please. Just very quickly, I'm also about following the rule of law. Let me just say this, that, when we talk about do what is best, that was mentioned here, that's a matter of opinion. And when we talk about a rule of law, I want everybody to obey the law too, but this is about money. This is what it's about. It's about $1 million that this county council is going to lose because they are a for-profit and, a 501c3 nonprofit, and Kershaw Health is for-profit. So therefore, we're going to lose the money. That concerns me. It truly does. But I think that mostly, Mr. DeBose, let me ask you a question. When we talk about laws, are you telling us DHEC has violated the law?
Well,
Because that's what was said up here.
no, in the event the appeal is filed, Kershaw County would be saying that DHEC did not follow the correct administrative procedure by
Correct.
amending the COPA.
That's my
Yes.
point, and that's my point. Just as I said about do what is right as an opinion, that is another opinion. With all due respect to my colleagues, that is another opinion that I just don't agree with. I think they've been very successful. I think they're going to be very good for Kershaw County. And I just don't want to play Russian roulette with our health care. Here's what I'm for. I'm for good health care. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jones, and you know how passionate I am about the way you feel, and we don't always agree, as you would say. But you can take the money off the table, and I can speak for Sammy Tucker. I would still have a very deep concern of the COPA, because that's ultimately what matters, what type of health care we're going to get here and what type of reinvestment we're going to get at the end of the day. And that's mostly what I'm concerned about. Now, others can speak for themselves. I'm not telling you that there may not be dollars exchanged in this meetings that we hope to have in the future, but I am more concerned of the COPA and what Kershaw County is going to be offered or given in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I'll wrap it up on
No,
my-
sir, could I have one?
Yeah.
Thank you
Go
very
ahead,
much.
Mr. Jones.
I have all respect to my colleague over on the right. However, I disagree with him on that. When we first started talking about this, what was our main interest, Mr. Carpenter?
Main interest was that they had not consulted with us or given us any input to prepare for losing $1 million.
Okay, correct. It was about the $1 million. When did we start talking about the COPA?
As soon as we were aware of what they were doing, we began researching it.
But
So,
when did it become a big
we wouldn't have
issue?
known about the COPA until we looked into it. We didn't know to look into it until they told us they were selling.
Right. How many times has hospitals merged and counties have not been involved?
I can't
A
answer
lot.
that.
A lot. All right, but anyway, I just wanted, we just have differences of opinion, guys. I don't agree with you on this, and I think we're taking a risky chance here. Thank you.
Okay. Others? Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jones, I want to go on record that I think it's disingenuous to paint with a broad brush that this is all about this is all about money. That's not that. So when you paint that, when you frame that argument, I think it's disingenuous. I think there's more going on than just that. That there is an issue with the COPA. There is an issue with procedures not being followed. That there is an issue to make sure that we are, we're providing our citizens with the best health care. Could that be Prisma? It probably could be. But at the same time, I think there's something to look into that things were not handled correctly. So it's more. I get that. I think it's just more than just that. I regret that we have to make this about whether it's about money or not, because I think it's more comprehensive than that.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Okay, one, I am not disingenuous. Let me just say this.
I didn't say you were. I said that comment.
Oh, okay, because, all right, then I won't call you disingenuous. But anyway,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. All I've heard from you, sir, and some other members of this county council is about the $1 million.
You know that's false.
I do not know that's false.
All right.
That is the absolute
You've been
truth.
in the meetings.
Mr. Tucker, please go right ahead.
2 points. Councilman Jones, I'm not going to let you sit here and say that about Councilman Snodgrass. He voted with you last time we voted, and
I'm talking about the county council as a whole with the majority vote,
but he
Mr.
voted
Tucker.
with you, so he was in the minority vote.
I didn't call him out personally.
Um,
It's all of you.
Okay, but anyways, question goes to you, sir.
Sure.
If you have your way, how do we make up the $1 million?
Well, that's something, well, first off, you know the negotiations we've been having with the other agency, the health district. There's no question in my mind that they are going to probably do something to help us. And then we'll go that route, we take that and we move forward. And bottom line is you never know. We may get some help from some other agencies before it's over
And
with.
that's my point right there. You don't know. And some of those same things you're just mentioning, we're still pursuing that. We're not taking any of that off the table. We're just taking a position that if we don't react to by Thursday, we have that position no longer.
Can I say something
Yes,
else
sir.
too?
Go ahead, please.
You know, we have saved quite a bit of money each year. You want to talk about how we can make the money work? We have saved a lot of money. We have saved millions of dollars over the years and put it in a very healthy reserve. We've created a reserve. We've got a capital reserve. We've got a emergency reserve when it comes to like what we did with the grant. I mean, we've got money that we could absolutely make it work if we had to make it work. And so I just don't see where I just don't like it. I just don't like the way we're proceeding with this, and I'm not going to support it.
Okay.
I think it's the wrong move. I think it's going to hurt the hospital overall.
Thank you. Very good. I think I'm going to close it up. Today is EMS week. I'd like to take every opportunity to thank our ambulance people under Gerald and that wonderful team. But part of that issue is EMS bridge money is a very explicit part of a unanimous vote we took here on the 27th of April, in which we were interested, and more than interested, we were keen to hear more about negotiations to help us bridge the gap on EMS funding. I would remind you all of that letter. Secondly, I would make you all known that in that letter you had me sign, and we unanimously agreed we would support the sale. Secondly, with the help of Mr. Ogburn and the Kershaw County Health Services District, they offered to help us talk to Prisma and LifePoint, and on multiple occasions those talks never occurred. And so we are now here after multiple attempts to meet with them to discuss things. In spite of the best efforts of Kershaw County Health Services District, we're at the point where we now move to a vote on the appeal. It couldn't come at a worse time in the middle of this COVID situation. The discussion has been very useful, and I propose now we move to a vote. And with that, I will start. All those in favor signify by raising your hands. And it's Mr. Snodgrass, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Gardner, Mr. Burns, and Mr. Connell. Mr. Bozard, how do you vote? And Mr. Bozard records affirmative. Thank you, Al. And all those opposed signify by raising your hand. That's Mr. Jones. The motion passed. The appeal will go forward. And with that, that piece of business is closed. Can we now have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tucker, a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gardner. Discussion, which I would say the next time we have a scheduled meeting is the 9th of June. And if necessary, as regards this particular item, if we need to, we'll have a call meeting or any other meeting of that nature. I thank you all. Al, be safe on the road. With that, we move to a vote. All those in favor signify by raising your hands.
I'm voting for Al.
And Al, you vote? How do you vote? And that's unanimous. And with that, we are adjourned. Y'all be safe out there.
Thank you.
Wash your hands.